D through 2.3 pull down.
Right. Larry, talk about your time at Sony and the development of 24p and how that came to be.
Well, it started in the 80s and the 90s when I was part of the SMPT and then the CCIR when we were trying to make 60 fields a universal worldwide standard. So to raise 24p at the time, I would have shot you. And I just wouldn't allow any discussion of 24 until the world decided, well, we're not going to unite on 60. One region would remain 50, the other region would remain 60. We could agree on the spatial sampling, which is ultimately what we did. We got the world standard on the sampling, but not the field rates. And then at about that time that was emerging, the way things were going to happen was when we were contacted by Lucasfilm, who had been working with Betacam, digital Betacam at the time. And they said, you know, we hadn't realized that digital imaging was advancing so fast. This is standard definition, but it's quite incredible. And they had resurrected a Star Wars scene, rebuilt it in their studios, and shot it with digital Betacam 60, and converted it to film, put it up on the screen, and said there's only two things missing, three things. One is aspect ratio, two, 24 frame, the film look, and the other was resolution. So they challenged us to consider a high-definition digital Betacam, and it happened to be the next NAB we were introducing the first HD cam. So we revealed that to them before anybody else, and they became very excited. Hordes of them came to NAB, and they saw that would have been 97, and they said, this is it. Now, if you just make the 24 frame, well, that was a big discussion. I went back to Japan and said, guess what? We've got Lucasfilm. All we have to do is make a 24 frame. They said, are you joking? Television is 60 or 50. And I spent a couple of years trying to explain to them that there can be a world of video that's 24. Finally, in 98, December, Los Angeles, SMPT, I brokered a big dinner between a horde of the technologists from Japan. Sony came. And I said to Lucas, you've got to do the cell job for me. I failed. Rick McCallum, George Lucas's producer, had led the team from Lucasfilm in this big private room we had. And he gave the most marvelous explanation to all the engineers on why, if you build it, they will come. You will never get HD into the movie-making world until you make 24 frame. And the day you do that, they will come. And they were absolutely right. So 24, while it was technically offensive to me, it was techno-politically offensive to me, it was absolutely the only way that HD would have gone into movie making. And the march has never stopped. Now, I think Doug and I share the dream that once we get away totally from motion picture film, we'll start to move up in frame rates.
I think people will
no longer be slave to that cost issue of film. I intend to be alive when that happens.
Doug.
I'd like to. I'm with you. I'd like to point out one thing we haven't talked about.
Yes,
and we got I know he's going to have a good question. Is brightness, color saturation, and high dynamic range and resolution are all qualities that are separate from frame rate, but have a big effect on the perceived experience. Because the movie business stuck itself at a maximum of 15 or 16 foot Lamberts because of the double-bladed shutter in a
flicker problem.
Film projector flicker problem. So the film projection industry in theaters is just stuck at that, even though we're now converting to digital projection, which could easily be 50, 60, or 100 foot Lamberts, but they don't do it because they think they shouldn't or something, or they can't get enough light through a DLP chip without blowing it up. So I think it's one of the things I see at home. I just bought this monster Sony 55-inch, 240 hertz Motion Flow Pro TV LED thing, and it's awesome. And I know I've got to measure it actually what the brightness is because I know it's at least 50 or 70 foot Lamberts, which is so vivid. Your eyes see color better when it's brighter. If you're down at 15, there's much less color and much less contrast than there is at 50 or 60 or more. But 3D now, you're seeing it because it's going through a polarizer at the projector and a polarizer on your head. You're seeing 4-foot Lamberts. And I think it's horrible. It's a completely unacceptable standard because they just take the 15 or 16, divide it in half, and then divide it in half and say, well,
That's what you
we
get.
accept it, you know, rather than quadrupling the power in the projector brightness to compensate for it. So you could have, theoretically, a 3D movie that's 16-foot Lamberts even. I'd like to see a 3D movie at 50-foot Lamberts.
Right.
That's where I
Question.
think it's got to